and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move to the roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Here.
Mr. Beistel?
Here.
Mr. Benz?
Here.
Dr. Fike? Mrs. Kaufman? Here. Mrs. Love? Here. Mr. Polakowski? Here. Mrs. Rhodes? Here. Mr. Miller?
Here. And there are 9 present. Dr. Molnar reminded me that the agenda here before us is a voting agenda, but it is a discussion. We had one meeting this month, and a voting and a discussion meeting. So if you do want to discuss something at a greater length tonight, I will try to honor that, and so remind me of that. And thank you for reminding me of that. Let us move to citizen comments.
We have no comment cards this evening.
Then we'll move to the minutes, please.
It's recommended that the board approve the minutes of the June 13th and June 27th, 2013 meetings.
Do I hear a motion?
So be it.
Mr. Beistel? Is the motion? Second by Ms. Rhodes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
with the permission of Mr. Beistel and Ms. Rhodes, and with the consent of Mrs. Hoffman and Mr. Polakowski, I would request that the minutes as to page 6, the last motion voted on, Mr. Fike, which the hire an expert regarding the tax appeal. I realized that what had happened was that we had discussed this in executive session, and I handed out a form resolution and forgot to give one to Mrs. Carson. But I actually read this, and it should be included in the minutes because it identifies who you're hiring, what it's for, and the amount. For the tax bill, 220 Westford Road, Investors LP versus Westmoreland County Board of Assessment Appeals and Southmoreland School District, and the number was 6179 of 2012, and the tax map number was 4714-000-155. That the Board of School Directors appoints professional real estate appraisal services, Inc., and John H. Weaver to perform professional services related to the above tax assessment appeal as follows, as per his proposal, consulting and appraisal, $1,500. And authorizing the President or Vice President to sign agreement tax. As it's stated in the minutes, it doesn't identify who's being hired as another spending, so what tax appeal is. So I'm asking to have them amended to reflect what I handed out from the board.
Okay.
Which I also have the Secretary.
Yes.
And to the parties that he named, made the motion, second, I see nodding heads.
Yes.
Okay. So with that amendment and that noted in the minutes, are there any additional?
There was one person asked, and it wasn't an extension. There were 2 which was correctly reported.
Very good. That will be noted. All in favor of adopting the minutes with that amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed? And the ayes have it, and we will approve of the minutes. And moving to business and finance and the fund accounts.
It is recommended that the board approve the June 2013 revenue report, expenditure report, bills payable and accounts payable, and the June 2013 treasurer's report.
Motion? Ms. Love makes the motion. Second, Ms. Kaufman. Discussion, questions? Roll call.
Mr. Alt? Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Fike? Mrs. Kaufman? Mrs. Love? Yes. Mr. Polakowski? Mrs. Rhodes? Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. Old business, we have policy 252, relationship of adults and students.
We're on the wrong agenda, that's the last one.
That was in his packet.
Okay, what happened because you weren't here last month?
Okay, I'll find the right agenda here.
I have an extra one here, Mr. Moore.
That's all right. Is it July 18?
Yes.
All right, let's try this again here. As in page 2. Very sorry, folks. Opened the wrong
Yeah, we included that with your packet.
Okay,
Sorry
here we
about
go. Old business. Does someone have some old business? And Dr. Fike, you have the floor.
Last meeting we discussed the fund balance and the three different parts of it. Apparently, Mr. Pateri reviewed Dr. Molnar, who said, quote, he said that the district's fund balance was on May 23rd was $5.9 million, and that much of that money taken from the fund balance will actually be returned. So, can you explain the $5.9 million fund balance, Jack? Because that's not what the Department of Education said.
I believe, Mr. Marnell, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we turned in our budget, our fund balance was estimated to be $5.9 million, is that correct?
Actually, we turned in $5,057,639.
Okay, so it's $5 million. It was 5.9 previously.
How much of that is committed?
The committed amount, $882,000. The assigned amount, $2,705,639. And the estimated unassigned, $1,470,000. Those total up to $5,057,639.
So the unassigned is $1,470,000, but we sent in that page, that J1 on our budget, it's at $687,000. So which one of those
The page that you're referring to is the estimated ending unassigned fund balance that would be in June 30th of 2014. So that would be the ending unassigned fund balance next year. At the beginning of the budget that you send into the state, it lists the estimated beginning fund balances that you starting the 13-14 school year off with.
So it's not 5.9 million, it's 5 million. And then we have an unassigned fund balance of 1,470,000, but it's turned in at 680,000, so that means it's going to be down to 750,000 next year. We got 750,000. It says here, money taken from the fund balance actually will be returned. How does that come about?
Well, as we've explained before, the budgetary reserve, $400,000, even though it's budgeted to come out of the fund balance, we don't intend to spend it. And as I've explained to you before, the $249,000 budgetary operating deficit is something that we hope to be able not to spend. So even though those monies are budgeted to come out of the fund balance, it would be our intent that they would go back in at the end of the year.
That would be the first time then that there's been money put back into the fund balance, because it's gone down about $700,000 a year for the last 5-6 years.
Well, I don't know if that's the first time we put money into the fund balance, because we certainly put money in at some point in time, yeah.
It has gone down.
It has gone up, it's gone down, yeah, it has trended both ways.
According to the Department of Education, it's gone down about $700,000 a year for the last 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is. So, well, that would be nice if the money's going to be put back here.
That's the intent.
Part of, I think, when comparing apples to apples or comparable figures, if you look at the fund balance numbers in the 90s, in fact, I think some of you remember the meeting, we had a very low amount that we had in committed and assigned there. And so and that was, and you were at the vote here.
There's none.
Exactly. And because we worked on the philosophy that we would meet our obligations in the same way that we have obligations and indebtedness here of the building, the new buildings that we built or the renovations. So one can use these figures for whatever purposes one wishes to make a point. However, in terms of our past history, we have met our obligations, and in fact, we have, in terms of our past history of the past decade and into the present, we have a very healthy fund balance, as I would see it. Any other comments?
Just a question on the treasurer, Sue Dye, that's the interim treasurer. Will she continue to do that, or will Mr.
You
Marnell-
appointed Mr. Marnell treasurer effective July 1.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Sorry.
We have to go back and check that this week because we weren't sure of the date. I might be here in Florida.
Yeah, I might have been on.
Let's move to new business. Okay, we have new business here. I'm looking here at St. Vincent Prevention Project contribution.
It's recommended that the board approve a matching contribution of $1,020 to fund the St. Vincent Prevention Project's activities in the schools of the Southmoreland School District for the 2013-2014 school year.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Ms. Kaufman. Second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Rhodes. Comments or questions?
Good question.
Go ahead, Ms. Kaufman.
I believe we've done this before, but I don't remember what fund it comes out of.
It's an annual contribution and it's budgeted under,
Comes out of the general fund.
it's a general fund and there's a budget category which I couldn't begin to tell you without looking it up, but yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's not something that we've done before, so.
No, we budget this every year, right?
We've been doing this for quite a few years, right?
Yes.
Long time.
Has anybody studied the benefit or validity of the outcome of this?
Excuse me. Right now, I just got a letter from the Department of Ed. They are asking us to have our students complete a survey on this. We are also asked by St. Vincent's on an annual basis to complete the survey. And traditionally, that is not something, just from going back historically, that our parents or our board has been interested in having our kids do, so we have always opted out of that survey.
If you're going to pay this money and keep having it, because some of the research shows that these programs are the least effective that exist. These education programs, for this, for drug and alcohol, and for sex education, are 1,000% ineffective. And I'm going to vote for it. I just think we owe it to ourselves to try to get information, get feedback, so that you know what you're getting for your money. And if it's not working, then you get something that might be better.
And then there is feedback at the county level which we could get and provide to the board, but we did not participate as a school district in their survey. My remembering is that we attempted to do that one year, many years ago, and there was quite an outcry among parents, and I believe the board as well, that this is not something that they wanted their students to, information they wanted their students to be providing, even anonymously.
They didn't. The outcry was against the evaluation, but it was not against the program.
Correct.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Roll call?
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Feig?
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mrs. Love? Yes. Mr. Polakowski? Yes. Mrs. Rhodes? Yes. Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. The Southmoreland Marching Band overnight trip and performance.
I provided information on this in your packet, but it's recommended that the board approve an overnight field trip to the Southmoreland Marching Band from February 27th through March 3rd, 2014.
Motion by Mr. Benz.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beistel.
Traditionally, the band goes, I had put in your packet every 2 years. Mr. Lee corrected me, they go every 4 years.
I'm missing something. I have one that says marching band trip that goes from February and the candlelight trip to Disney World to November, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the candlelight trip later. That's not the band.
That's not the band.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
No, we'll be talking about candlelight trip under my superintendent's report. It's not on the agenda. So this is the one that came in your packet.
Are there comments, questions regarding the trip to Florida? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski? Yes. Mrs. Rhodes? Yes. Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. Voting delegates to the PSBA Delegate Assembly.
It is recommended that the board appoint 2 individuals as voting delegates for the Southmoreland School District to the PSBA Delegate Assembly to be held in Hershey on October 15, 2014. It will be necessary for the board to deliberate here a little bit and determine who our voting delegates will be.
Okay. Let's talk about this a little bit, or, we need a motion here before we, okay. Do I hear a motion and we'll discuss it? Ms. Kaufman makes the motion. For a second? Second, Mr. Polakowski. Okay, maybe just to note here, several of us go based on other offices. Am I right, Ms. Kaufman, you go for the Okay. And Ms. Fike goes for the, no, okay, all right.
In the past, she's gone.
Okay, I'm sorry, I meant it has in the past sometimes. Suggestions here, or volunteers to serve? Well, why don't we just talk about it and see if we have 2 names, and if we want to look at that further. And since you made the suggestion, I suggest that you be one of them, Ms. Rhodes. You're our PSBA representative, and you serve in this kind of way. Other suggestions or volunteers?
Do it, Mr. Mills.
Mr. Bentz? I'm not saying these are the final, I'm just trying to get them out in the open here. So Mr. Bentz and Ms. Rhodes. Other suggestions or volunteers? Okay. We ready to vote on these 2? Okay. The two delegates would be Ms. Rhodes and Ms. Bentz, and you read the motion, so I think. So let's go ahead with the roll call and vote on these 2.
Dr. Fike?
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0.
Mr. President,
Yes.
would I be able to talk now about the possibility of sending some students there? We got our school board book from PSBA, and they have sort of contests, like for our art. I wanted to bring my book and I forgot, but the elementary art teacher was just amazing. And I forget what the topic is, but they give you a one-liner, and then the kids finish it with their, whatever their creativity brings them, and they draw whatever. And then also chorus and band see these kids perform, and it just would be a really good opportunity to, I think you have to apply for it, you have until September 20th, I believe it is. But I don't know if you wanted to look into it as a possibility for the kids or not. If you think it's something they'd like to do.
Just, you know, traditionally when they bring those bands in, that's whoever's the president of the PSBA, they bring in their school, their
But there's chorus, and I mean, it's all the
Traditionally,
drawings.
it's always been those bands, but you know, go ahead. That's
Even the drawings, just to have Southmoreland name out there for the artwork, you know, if they don't win anything, at least it will be displayed out there. I think it's a good opportunity to at least look into it. I don't know if you have the time to see, because you have to pass it on to your teachers.
Well, that's something we'll discuss as an administrative
Okay.
team and
That's great, yeah.
make some decisions on that.
Good. Bring back a report on that, Dr. Mullen, on checking that out. Good suggestion. Any other suggestions here? Anything, we're going to recess for personnel and perhaps some legal issues if need be, but is there anything else someone wanted to bring up? Then do I hear a motion to recess for personnel and executive session? Ms. Rhodes? Reconvene, and Ms. Rhodes makes the motion, and do I hear a second? Mr. Beistel, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? And the ayes have it, and we are reconvening and moving to personnel. Head varsity track coach.
It is recommended that the board accept with regrets the resignation of William Schreckengost as head varsity track coach and authorize administration to post the position. Mr. Schreckengost was a teacher in our district from 1971 to 2006. In addition to his duties as a teacher, he's been a long-time coach in our district. I know he's at least coached football, basketball, and track for a lot of years and has really contributed a lot to the growth and well-being of our students. So we obviously thank him for his many years of good service and would ask you to accept his resignation.
Yes, with regrets.
With regrets.
That's my motion, with regrets.
Mr. Vance makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Beistel. Comment? Question? I'd just like to add on to that, thank you, Mr. Schreckengost has been, as Dr. Moeller noted, a longtime teacher and coach, and I generally go up there every spring, and the number of kids that turn out for track is just phenomenal. It's 50, 60 kids there, and he's run an outstanding program. And a very admirable program in terms of our wins, and I think in coaching we always look also for character, and I have very high regard for Mr. Schreckengost's character. So just to add on to my regret of his resigning this position. Roll call.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes, with regret, thanks.
Mr. Al?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
No, and that passes 8-1 vote. Let's move to, which one? Certified school nurse, please.
It's recommended that the board promote Mrs. Catherine Paladis from the eliminated position of school nursing assistant to the position of school nurse at step B1 of the collective bargaining agreement between the Southmoreland School District and the Southmoreland Education Association.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Love makes the motion, and Ms. Kaufman is seconding it. Comment? Question? Roll call.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Al?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Dr. Fike? Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. Moving to assistant varsity football coach.
It was recommended that the board employ Ryan Shaw as an assistant football coach to be placed at the discretion of the head football coach.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Benz. Second by Ms. Rhodes. Comment, question? Roll call.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes? Yes. Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Pike? Yes. Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mrs. Love? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. Assistant marching band instructor.
It is recommended that the board employ Sam Rizzi as an assistant marching band instructor to be placed at the discretion of the marching band director pending receipt of updated clearances. So
Mr. Beistel. And Ms. Kaufman seconds that motion. Hearing no comment, question, roll call.
Mrs. Rhodes? Yes. Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Pike? Yes. Mrs. Kaufman? Yes. Mrs. Love? Yes. Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0. FMLA and parental leave.
it's recommended that the board table this motion until our next meeting.
Do I hear a motion?
So be it.
Mr. Beistel makes a motion to table it. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Polakowski. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and we will table it. I think we have another... Sure. Okay, then let us move to board reports and the CWCTC report.
We do not meet in July, and so our next meeting will be August 21st.
Okay. Things are moving ahead on the building renovation project. Westmoreland Intermediate Unit report, Ms. Pike.
The meeting is scheduled for the first or second week of August.
Okay. PSBA liaison report, Ms. Rhodes.
Give you a short report. PSBA's leadership conference in Virginia will begin October 15th with Mike Yerzoni as the dinner speaker. Mike was the captain of the 1980 U.S. hockey team who beat the Soviet Union for the gold medal. And his topic would be how to overcome any obstacle and go for the goal. At this year's conference, 30 different educational sessions will be offered with topics ranging from all hazards planning, the student-centered budgeting, leveraging school media, and school consolidation. That's just to mention a few. If you want the full list of sessions, you can visit the website. Also, this is going to touch on what Josie already discussed. The PSBA is once again having a poster and essay contest. The poster contest is open to students in grades 2 through 5, and the essay contest is for students grades 6 to 12. Their work will be displayed and distributed at the conference with special recognition and scholarship prizes for the winners. Entries are due on or before September 20th. And I also agree with Josie. I think that it would be nice to see Southmoreland represented there this year in some form. So if the administration could work on that, we appreciate it. And that's all I have.
Then let us move to the superintendent's report.
I have a number of items. First item, just to let you know, we continue to relocate. Most of the offices have been moved out of the former administration building. Dr. Scott, Mr. Clare, Ms. Kalpa, Mrs. Shawley are in the process of relocating this week, and then that will complete our personnel being moved out of that building. Telephone lines have been moved, so most of us can be reached on our former numbers that you already have. and Dr. Scott and the other folks will be, within a couple of days, once they get situated in their new location, will also be available at their former numbers. When a school is in school improvement, the school is required to submit a formal school improvement plan. I believe you approved our high school improvement plan several months ago. As curriculum director, one of the things Dr. Scott is having the other buildings do is go through the same exercise and build a school improvement plan, looking at where the strengths of our school are and where our concerns are, and listing those in a very candid fashion and looking at causes of those concerns, and then looking at an action plan to address them. And our team leaders at the elementary and middle school levels have already begun work on those plans. They are not required, but they're certainly a wonderful exercise, so I wish to commend Dr. Scott as well as the principals and the other folks who are working on those plans. We had a couple of good days of work over the last 2 weeks, and we look forward to completion of those plans throughout the course of the summer and into the early fall. As a result of the passage of the Commonwealth budget, Southmoreland will receive an additional $16,697 in state funding. Our plan is that we would use this funding to help offset the operating deficit that is reflected in the current budget. And Mr. Marnell, I believe there's a process that we have to go through, is that correct?
Yes, when the state passed the budget, they also approve in the legislation for all school districts to reopen their budget to reflect the actual amounts that were approved by the legislature. So we plan to do that at the August meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Marnell. Okay, I have a couple of items to walk on. In front of you at your desks this evening, you have a request from the Highlander Chorus requesting permission for an overnight trip to perform at Disney World from November 28th through December 2nd, which happens to correspond with our Thanksgiving break and fall recess, so students would not miss any class as a result of this trip. So we're going to entertain a motion to approve the course to make this trip to Disney World to perform.
Do I hear that motion?
Thanksgiving Day.
Pardon?
They're even on Thanksgiving.
Yes, they are.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Kaufman makes the motion.
Second.
Ms. Rhodes seconds it. Question, discussion?
It's cost nearly $1,100 a student, and they have to pay for it themselves. Does that mean that some students won't get to go? Is that it?
They have an opportunity to fundraise, and I don't believe that students are generally
I didn't see that.
excluded.
They're going to fundraise.
Yeah.
And this is Highlander. So there's, what, 10 to 12 or...
How big a group is it?
Highlander Choir. Mr. Croft, correct, Mrs. Santa Marta?
20.
About 20 kids.
Okay, any more comments from the board or citizens' comments? I think good. Roll call?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Fike? Yes. Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0.
The next item I have, it's a walk-on, concerns one of our athletic programs. It's recommended that the board open the position of head varsity softball coach and authorize administration to post and advertise the position.
Your motion?
So moved.
Beistel. For a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Polakowski. Sure. Board comment, or is there a public comment? Hearing none, we will roll call.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0.
The next item I have is our August 1st meeting is a planning meeting. I would like to advertise that as a voting meeting in case we have some last-minute business that we need to get voted on before the following week with school starting and so on and so forth.
Hear a motion Ms. Love makes a motion to change that to a voting meeting. Your second? Second. Ms. Rhodes seconds it.
So we'll schedule a voting meeting immediately after the planning session.
Are you going to advertise?
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine.
Very good. Any comment, board or citizen
We'll
comment?
keep the 8th
Yes,
also.
yes.
You don't need that moved later to get the school year for anything.
I think we're okay right now, as far as we know. If something comes up by the 1st, then maybe we may have to, but I think we're going to be okay.
But if we move it now, we can just advertise once instead of possibly needing to advertise again.
We have, in the past, moved it back to the 15th. Might be beneficial to do that just in the event that we have a sudden resignation or something we have to get filled.
So that's a suggestion here. We moved the 8th, the voting meeting, the 8th also to the 15th. Is that the suggestion here?
Right, so planning meeting would be on the 1st, followed by a short voting meeting to pick up a couple of cleanup items, and then we would have a regular voting meeting on the 15th.
That's the...
I just think that
Well,
we
including
have
both of us.
3 more weeks.
Sure, that makes good sense.
Everybody available?
I'll be away either day, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not sure.
All right. Let's, any further comments, citizen comments? Then let's take a roll call.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Dr. Tyke?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0.
Okay, and I believe this is the last item I have. Our board secretary is going to be unavailable for at least the first meeting in August and possibly the second meeting as well. So we would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Marnell as substitute board secretary during Mrs. Tarzan's absence.
Okay, do I hear a motion to name Mr. Marnell as our substitute secretary? Ms. Love makes the motion. Mr. Beistel seconds it. Comments, board or citizen comments? Hearing none, is it a funded item or is this a... No, let's take a roll call, that's fine. Roll call, please.
Dr. Tyke?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski? Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Earl?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, and that passes 9-0.
I believe that completes my report, sir.
Thank you very much, and let's... Sure.
When are we going to get the results of the Keystone exam?
We can provide those to you on August 1st, I believe. We'll have them compiled by then. Yeah, there's no official release. They've been preliminarily released, and the appeal window actually opened today.
The what open today?
Appeal window.
What's that?
Well, for example, one year, many years ago, something happened to our junior high school PSSA booklets, and they were all coded incorrectly. So 100% of our kids were listed as not having tested. So we appealed that and said, no, that's not right, gang, and then we
You
got
have
that
the
straightened
results,
out.
and you could give them to us on the first call.
If they're released by the officially, like, we're not allowed, the Commonwealth doesn't allow us to release them until they say they're final.
We don't have aggregate results, we have individual results. And we can work out some figures on our own to aggregate them, but they won't ever be exactly what the state will release. And we're not authorized to So we do not have aggregate results.
Right.
Are they ever going to be available?
Yes,
Or is it after this appeal process?
usually yes. Well, as an example, with the PSSA results, just last week, we had to reassign some of our kids who had taken the alternate assessment because we had too many kids who scored in the proficient range, and we had to assign some to non-proficient. It's some kind of statistical thing that they do, but even though PSSA was given months ago, it was just now that we were asked to make that adjustment, which we're asked to make every year as well.
That makes sense.
Doesn't make sense to me either, Doc. We just do as we're told sometimes.
Very good.
Agreed on something.
We'll look forward to those. And Solicitor?
I need executive session.
Sure. Solicitor?
Nothing to report.
Note here on the committee, we committee to negotiate with the secretaries and clerical staff, and that committee will be Gail Rhodes to chair, Butch Beistel, and Miss Amy Love will serve on that committee. So we'll look forward to your negotiations. Citizen comments? Hearing none. Any further board notes? Dr. Muller just noted he has a quick note for us for a executive session. So if we could have a motion to adjourn to executive session.
45 seconds is all I need.
And Mr. Beistel makes the motion. And is there a second? Second by Ms. Rhodes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say no. And the ayes